Raiders. So I have floor of 8 and 9. It could also be 7 and 10. Yeah, our floor will be 8 and 9, maybe 7 and 10. I said 8 and 9 just because I can't see us losing that many games. I can't see us losing 7 games with the amount of talent, just pure talent we have on the team, unless we absolutely like shit the bed or we have Carr get injured. You have obviously Derek Carr getting Devontae Adams, reuniting with Devontae Adams, which is probably one of, if not the biggest move this offseason that finally happened. It should have happened back in 2018 apparently, but Gruden's gonna wants Mr. Big Chest instead of Devontae Adams or whatever. I think that getting Devontae Adams for a first and a second and paying him the way we did was a really good get. You also have Chandler Jones being added to our defensive line. And about that, we basically got Chandler Jones and Rocky Sin and traded for Ngakwe. That's how I look at it, which I think is a really great deal. Love Ngakwe. I love what he did for us last year. Sometimes his run defense most of the time was bad. Yeah, Raiders secondary not better than Broncos. Agreed. But I think getting Chandler Jones, who's basically Ngakwe, but a little older, but also more consistent, especially against, just in general, I think an overall better pass rusher. And you have to think about it, like he got 5 sacks week 1, and he only had 10.5 to end the year, but he also didn't have anyone else on the D-line. Like, who else on the D-line was actually, like, good? JJ Watt was out for almost the entire season. So I don't know. I think that's one of the big reasons why he didn't have as many sacks as he could have. But having Max Crosby and Chandler Jones on the same line, and them most likely being healthy, because Chandler Jones and Max Crosby have not missed a lot of games in their careers. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Because I don't want to jinx that. They're gonna be a really good duo. But yeah, Raiders don't have enough pressure up the middle at all. That's a very good point. Our defensive tackles is not good. I mean, Jonathan Hankins is mid. It's about as average as you can get for a defensive tackle. He's average against the run. He's decent against the pass. He doesn't get a lot of sacks though, but he does like kind of eat up some space. I think that if we were to get someone like Ndamukong Suh for like a 1-year vet min, or just 1 year 5 mil, 10 mil even, I wouldn't mind that, because he's such a powerhouse up the middle even at his age. Or even someone like Eddie Goldman, because we shouldn't be relying on old vets like Bilal Nichols and Jonathan Hankins and rookies. And also those vets are not even like, and I just named Ndamukong Suh and Eddie Goldman, but Eddie Goldman and Ndamukong Suh, wow, I cannot say the name. I agree with that. If Raiders actually have a defensive tackle, like, that's actually not even, it doesn't even have to be an elite defensive tackle, just someone that can eat double teams and not be able to double team him all the time, he'll have way more sacks. It's just the fact that a defensive end had more pressures than anyone else on the team, including defensive tackles, is insane. Because defensive ends should not be the ones getting the most pressure on the team. And that number, like 101 pressures or whatever, is not something that your defensive end should be doing. He shouldn't be, and then only have 8 sacks, I should say. Because if he's getting 101 pressures, he should be getting the sacks, but he didn't, because our defensive tackles were not that good enough to let him take the edge and like get close in on the quarterback, because the quarterback could just step up and he would be left on the outside. Like, Bilal Nichols is like 24, yeah, but he's also mid. I should say older and mid defensive tackles. Bilal Nichols, I think, also gets a lot of credit because he was on the line with Khalil Mack and who's the other guy that's really good? They have a really good defensive line. They have a good defense in general. My point is, our defense is now a lot better because of the Ngakwe and Rocket Sin trade. Getting Chandler Jones to replace Ngakwe for a little bit more money, but also getting Rocket Sin was really big. Resigning Hankins was least good, because we don't have to rely on rookies and Balon Nichols. Because everyone else we got in the offseason is not that great. I think Sanjit really likes Vernon Butler, which I don't know why. Because their pass rush, the Bills' pass rush was literally the weakest part of their defense. Like didn't get, or is no, was it, or was it the Titans? Am I thinking of the Titans? No, the Titans was really good last year. I think it was the Bills that didn't have a great defensive line, didn't get a lot of sacks. Let me look that up. Now I feel like an idiot. I think there's a reason why they got Von Miller. Yeah, whatever. I can't find it right now, but point still stands. Exactly. Against the Chiefs, Mahomes was able to just step on the pocket and just dump it off to Kelsey for like 10 yards each play. That's why we got killed, is because we had no pressure up the middle, and then we didn't cover the flat, so he was able to just step up, and there was no pressure. There was pressure because he had to step up, but there wasn't any pressure after that to do anything like desperate. Neil Farrell Jr. and Matthew Butler, I hope, develop to be nice, but I don't know how well they're actually going to develop in their first year, especially since they're such late round picks. I think Zamir White will be our future running back one if Josh Jacobs leaves, because he's literally Josh Jacobs, but just runs in a different offensive scheme, or I should say offensive line scheme. Josh Jacobs likes zone run blocking, while Zamir is more power based. And he has a lot more speed than Jacobs does. I think they'll definitely be a 1A, 1B. I think that eventually, as we go along in the season, Zamir might take over reps from Kenyon Drake. Kenyon might become the fourth running back on the team, which is unfortunate because I really like Kenyon Drake. I think Brandon Bolden should be the running back 3 because he's a really great pass protector, which Kenyon Drake struggles with. Pardon me. We also got Kenny Young and Jayon Brown and Micah Kaiser to help with the linebackers. I think our linebacking core is actually going to be really good this season. We actually have a good linebacking core for the first time in who knows how long. I don't even know our last best linebacker before Perryman. It's been that long since we've had a good linebacking core. It's always linebackers and defensive tackles we seem to struggle with and getting. But now we have Denzel Perryman, Divine Diablo, Jayon Brown, Kenny Young, and Micah Kaiser, which should be a great linebacker core. Which, I mean, Micah Kaiser, Kenny Young, and Jayon Brown were all starters or split starters, or at least starting backups on all the other teams that we're on. So I think that's a really good sign that we got a lot of good depth. Now the O-line is, yeah, I'm glad you brought up the O-line. I like the Parham pick a lot because he's the thing with how they want to do their offensive lines. They want to have a lot of movement. They want to be able to move people around as they see fit. So say, I mean, you want to have a lot of variety in the places that your people can play. That way, if you want to do a funky like switcheroo while they're doing like a run block or a pass block or whatever, or some sort of play, you want to be able to make sure that your lineman can not only play right guard but also play left guard or even center. You want to make sure that left tackle can kind of cover left guard a little bit if they need to and stuff like that. Like I think Colton Miller will just stay on left tackle, and then right tackle you'll have like an anchor. Those are the two anchors on the line. The middle of the line is where you can have the most freedom in moving people around, because they're pretty much they're so close together. You want Parham because if James doesn't end up working out like we think or we hope he does, Parham's the center. He can play center. If not, he can replace someone at guard, because we only have John Simpson and Lester Cotton and Illuminor and Good. Now, all of them are either injured or unproven. We also have Leatherwood, who can play right guard, but I would like to see him at right tackle where we drafted him. We'll see how that goes. I think the offensive line is going to be the make or break, which is pretty obvious. That's most teams is make or break for them. Definitely the offensive line should hopefully be improved from last year. I think that Tom Cable looked better than he was at first. He was riding off the coattails of getting Colton Miller to be really good. And then I think we just need to see our offensive line. I think they'll be better in a different scheme too. We're not going to be running zone, which is a lot more switching and like pulls and stuff like that. And if they're just kind of they're going to be playing a different scheme, like an offensive line scheme. So maybe that'll help them a lot more. And also, I trust the Patriots on back O-line coach because they have a great O-line. They've had a great O-line the past few years. So, and they don't really have. I mean, they have some really good linemen in New England, but I think if I trust anyone to develop linemen, it's that guy. I don't even know his name off the top of my head, which is not good. But we also lost Brian Edwards, which sucked because I was hoping he would be developed into that really good fourth option. So if we had Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and then we had Brian Edwards, I think Brian Edwards would have succeeded heavily because a lot of the pressure to perform up to a high level would have been taken off of him, which I think why he struggled. I think he has the physical abilities. I'm not sure about his mental. I can't speak on that though because I don't know how to judge mental that well. But that's the only thing I can think of is why he didn't maybe perform as much as we wanted him to. Is because he had so much pressure to perform at the highest level he could. Briscolo, that's what it is. I knew it was some Italian name. But yeah, I wish we kept Edwards, but Keelan Cole and Demarcus Robinson should cover that fourth option at receiver very well. People hate Keelan Cole and Demarcus Robinson because they're bad. They're just not great. They're okay to good, which is all you need for a fourth receiver. Yeah, and Edwards was a third round pick, and I honestly think that even I was kind of overhating him for a little bit there. I mean, 500 yards is really good if he's your fourth option, or even maybe even your third option. But you don't want that as supposed to be your number one. There shouldn't have been an expectation, but there was because we lost Ruggs. Ruggs was supposed to be our number one, and you would think that Edwards should develop to that number one because Zay Jones is not that number one wide receiver. Hunter Renfrow became the number one because Zay Jones was okay and Edwards was okay. So Hunter, our slot receiver, became our number one, which slot receivers can become number one like Cooper Kupp. And even I think like Justin Jefferson's technically a slot receiver or something like that. But you also don't want that when you don't have Darren Waller either. If it was Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller, it would have been a little bit different. But if it's just Hunter Renfrow as your number one option for receiving, he can shake and bake all he wants, but eventually he'll start to get covered, which, eventually that's why he got 1,000 yards, but only 10 yards per reception, because he got a lot of short passes because he's a slot receiver. He's not a deep threat. But yeah, Brian Edwards is also not really a deep threat, but he's supposed to be an outside threat, and we didn't really get to see that too much. And then we also had Djax, who should have been that Ruggs guy, but ended up kind of disappointing. He got 200 yards, which is okay, but that's like a fifth option. Should have been our like after Waller got hurt, it should have been like Renfrow, Djax, Edwards, Zay, but it ended up being Renfrow, Zay, Edwards, Djax, which was kind of disappointing as well. It was kind of a mess, but I think Edgar Bennett should also have a nice development of Keelan Cole and Demarcus Robinson and Matt Collins into our offense. Foster is frustrating because he has the physical gifts to be a really elite tight end, or at least a really, really good tight end, but he has a lot of mistakes and mishaps that happened way too many times for it to be good. But he's a good tight end too, which is all we need him for. But I wish he also stepped up to be tight end one, but that didn't happen. So the stars of our team are Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow, Derek Carr, Darren Waller, and maybe Zamir White. I could see him becoming a star, in all honesty. I think Zamir could definitely become that 1A, 1B with Josh in the backfield. And then for the defensive side, you have Max Crosby, obviously, Chandler Jones, obviously, Nate Hobbs, Trayvon Morig, Rocky Sin. You have Denzel Perryman, Divine Diablo, and then of course our special teams trio is going to be good no matter what. Yeah, I think that Foster was fine, but you don't want. He didn't play as well as he should have. He had a chance to prove himself to be a tight end one, the number one tight end, and he didn't do it that well. Um, because he was supposed to basically replace what Waller could do. I thought he could do it in the Eagles game, but that was like an outlier because that didn't work after that. He had quite a few fumbles in bad spots. Um, I do miss Ingold. So the reason why we got rid of Ingold is because Gruden loves his pass catching fullbacks, which is why we got Ingold. But Ingold's not the best at actually being a fullback and blocking. He's a really great receiver though, which is why we got Jacob Johnson from the Patriots because Jacob Johnson is a really good fullback, really good blocking fullback. Malcolm Coots. You mean Baby Mac? I think that Baby Mac will be a great rotational piece this year. Behind either Crosby or Jones, I'm not sure which side he'll be on. I think Jacob Johnson is definitely a better pure fullback. He's not a good receiving fullback, but he's definitely a better blocking fullback. If you look at like the tape he has, he's definitely a better fullback. Alec Ingold is okay at blocking, but a really good receiver. Jacob Johnson's literally the opposite. He's not really used to be a receiver at all, but he's a really great blocker, which is what you want in a McDaniel's offense. Um, I think I think Baby Mac will be a great rotational pass rusher for us. All right.